Welcome on into the Swear Word. I'm your host, Brandon Swear, and this is a podcast for the chilihead community by the chilihead community. Regardless of your spice tolerance, this is the place for you. Man, we have an amazing episode here tonight. We have two sauces on deck for Hot or Not. We have an amazing guest locked and loaded, as well as a very fun game. So let's go ahead and start tonight's episode. Hey, welcome on in, Swear Nation. So glad to have everyone here, whether you're tuning in on Rumble, Spotify, Apple Podcast, or YouTube. Thank you so much for being here. This is where you can find everything to do with the world of hot. So if you have someone that you know that is, interested in what goes on with the world of hot as a whole, maybe they're trying to dabble into the world of spice, build up that tolerance. And, or, maybe they've been immersed in it and they love their salsas, they love their hot sauces, their spicy dry rubs, all the things, all the above. This is a great place for them to be. So go ahead and share this out with other like-minded chili heads. And, hey, we have two sauces tonight on Hot or Not. Both of these are from Down To Ferment, and I cannot wait to get into these. I had tried a few episodes ago, two other sauces from Down To Ferment, and absolutely was blown away by the overall flavor, heat, the balance to it all. Just phenomenal sauces. Can't wait to get into these, as well as we have Down To Ferment locked and loaded as our guest tonight. Very fun game planned. So go ahead and fire off in the chat. Leave the comments down below if you would have played the game differently. Let us know what you think. Have you tried any of the Down To Ferment sauces? And let's go ahead and start tonight's episode. Hey, welcome on into Hot or Not. Tonight we have two sauces on deck from Down To Ferment. We have That's What Shishido Said, and we have Beat Your Meat. As you can see here, love the labeling, love the overall playful nature to these names, the innuendos. It's a lot of fun, the graphics and everything that go into this. I'm excited to check these out tonight, so let's go ahead and we will start out with That's What Shishido Said. All right, so right off the bat, beautiful, dark, deep green color. You're seeing some nice specks of seasoning going on. Overall flow on this sauce looks like a nice medium consistency. And for those that are keeping track, yes, it does have a perforated cellophane, but I, of course, like a good excuse to use the knife. So we will get that going. And off to the side. I'm going to grab my spoon, give it a good shake, and we will dive on in. No flow restrictor. Right off the bat, very savory. You're picking up what smells like some sesame seed oil, possibly. You're picking up a lot of like earthy notes, and body depth to this sauce is very indicative of the shishito pepper as a whole. Places that'll do the sushi, ramen, so on, that does the blistered shishito peppers. Oh my goodness, so great. Absolutely phenomenal aroma when they bring that out. That is exactly what you're getting greeted with here. Very nice pour here. Looks very creamy as it was coming out. Nice medium consistency, nice hold to the sauce. And here we go. Man, it actually opens up the aroma as it's on the spoon. You're getting a much brighter, more earthy, more savory note on the nostrils. You're picking up some toasted notes, some roasted notes. It's just a phenomenal aroma here. That's what Shishido said is absolutely amazing. It has a nice overall creamy, earthy, smoky, kind of toasted taste to it. A nice kiss of umami. It is that well-balanced, very easy to enter into type of hot sauce for you to be able to enjoy. Bring some amazing pop and depth to your overall dish. I mean, if you are pairing this with any kind of Asian dish, this is going to make it sing. And, I wouldn't just limit it to an Asian dish as a whole. I can see this very well lending itself to burgers, sandwiches, salads, pizzas, etc. I mean, this thing is amazing, and one that I'm just going to end up, I know I'm going to power through this one super quick. It is so tasty, and I'm going to make sure that obviously the wife and everyone else gets a chance to try this, because this is the type of sauce that people are brought into the world of spice with. It is just absolutely amazing flavor, and one that can not be overlooked. That garlic, that onion, all these things are really just carrying forward. It's expanding out as this flavor just continues to build in the mouth and really let those taste buds salivate and go on. I'm loving this one right here. Let's go ahead and read off some ingredients here for That's What Shishido Said from Down to Ferment. Once again, this is definitely a sauce that would be great for anyone that says that they don't like spicy food or they don't like hot sauce. This is one that you can easily break those walls down because it is basically no heat on it, but a beautiful flavor and amazing body to this sauce. All right, let's go ahead, and what we'll do is we'll read off some scores from That's What Shishido Said from Down to Ferment. So heat coming in at 0.5, aroma of 4.5, flavor of 4.6, versatility of a 4, and a burn of a 0.5 for a total swear word rating of 2.82. An amazing sauce packed with flavor, very little heat. One that you can easily hand out and hand over to those that say that they don't like spicy food. And I guarantee you they will love this hot sauce. Looking to pick this up, I'll have the direct links for it down below. I highly recommend checking this one out. I absolutely love it. Let's go ahead and jump on over to the next sauce. All right, so let's grab Beat Your Meat. All right, let's give it a good shake. Nice color on this sauce. A little softer red than, say, a heavy, bright, dark red. It's got a nice, warm red color to it. Overall, looks like a nice medium consistency. I see a few pepper bits or spices of some sort floating around in this sauce. Get that opened up. It is perforated. Give it a good shake again. Once again, Down to Ferment, Beat Your Meat. Love the playful names. Love the creative imagery on the front of this. It shows a beat with a baseball bat smacking a cow. So, true to its name. Here we go. Let's give it a good pour. So right off the bat, overall aroma, picking up on this one, you're definitely picking up some beet note, but you're also picking up an overall earthiness that is probably coming from the beet, but definitely also some carrot. That's what that smells like. Also smells a little bit like onion, maybe some garlic, and I don't know, this one also kind of has a toasty note to it. So interested to see how this one tastes. Let's get a pour here. Nice medium consistency, good hold. You're seeing some nice body to this sauce. It smells about the same on spoon as in bottle on this one. The aroma does not open up anymore like the last sauce where you got it on spoon and it just had a different aroma pop that was much more pronounced. Man. All right. Cheers. Beat your meat. Oh, man. Oh, my. That is tasty. Very nice, silky, smooth, nice texture to this sauce that really brings that smooth feeling to the mouth, which translates into that flavor being very silky smooth as it comes through. You're getting a nice overall earthy note right off the bat. Then you're getting a slight sweetness, but nothing too crazy. And then it goes from there into a savory depth to the overall body of this sauce. You're picking up a little bit of what tastes like maybe some onion, as well as a little bit of garlic. And I am absolutely loving this. It has a very faint at the end pepper note that comes through, but all in all, the main thing throughout this sauce is that savory, earthy note. And I am absolutely loving this. So let me go ahead and what I'll do is I'll put the lid on this one and we will talk about the overall heat on this one is very kind. It's very forgiving, very mild. So if you're pushing yourself, you're constantly working on building your tolerance, this sauce is going to be nice and mild for you. You're going to be able to really lather it up and incorporate it in your dishes. Work it in as, say, a binding sauce to, say, a rice and veggie and protein type of dish, like a bowl, working it into sandwiches, working it into burgers, you name it. This is going to be phenomenal for that. The main thing I would not utilize Beat Your Meat from Down to Ferment on is going to be more in the realm of dessert or incorporated in a drink. Actually, I say that now. That would be potentially pretty good to use, a few splashes here and there in a Bloody Mary, not from the heat addition standpoint, but from a flavor depth that has a nice kind of an oniony, garlicky, earthy, but also umami taste to it. All these little things really shine through and show forward. You're getting a very subtle, very faint pepper note towards the end of the overall flavor on this, but definitely not one that you're going to have to worry about burning yourself up on. The great part about that is you can really lather it up and go to town and fall in love with hot sauce if you're just starting out. All right, let's go ahead and read off some scores here. This is Beat Your Meat from Down to Ferment. Heat coming in at 1.5, aroma of 4.2, flavor of 4.35, versatility of a 4, and a burn of 1.5 for a total swear word rating of 3.11. There we go. An amazing sauce, packed with flavors. If you're just starting out, this is going to be the perfect sauce for you to really start incorporating and understanding how and what you want to mix and add hot sauce to and really start to gain that footing. I'll have the direct links for Beat Your Meat and That's What Shishido Said down below, as well as a direct link to the website so you can check out the full lineup. But let's go ahead and jump on over to the interview. Hey, Sean, how's it going?
How's it going?
Man, it's this has been a long time coming. A lot of those that are watching and listening don't understand quite how much we've been kind of bouncing this one around. I'm super amped up for this episode. Had the pleasure of meeting you in person at Zest Fest, as well as trying out quite a few of your sauces, and then just recently reviewed 2 of them. Love what you have going on. Love the approach that you take for your sauces, and excited to dive deeper.
Definitely. I mean, yeah, you. This has been like I feels like over a year in the works of getting it done, and the last like 3-4 ish months have been pretty insane for us as a company, and just just had a huge transition as well. So a good one, but I've kind of been MIA from a lot of things because of it. So.
Yeah, no, definitely makes sense. And hey, growth is a great thing to see and experience, and all these positive things. Well, that it may be chaotic in the moment is always fruitful in the end. So, all right.
That's the funny thing is when you say it's chaotic. Man, you're 100% right. It is just organizing timeline stuff like that is just overwhelming at times, but it's all done, all in place. Everything's good to go.
Well, very nice. Glad that everything's working out. Well, one thing I always like to start out with, and it's a great way for everyone to kind of gain a better insight into who you are. What is that moment that you got first initially introduced to the world of spice, and then what brought you to the moment of, hey, I'm gonna go create some hot sauce?
So it's funny though. I was never really into the world of spice that much. I guess you could say I am now, but I still don't really feel like I'm in the world of spice as much as like a lot of people are that eat like, do League of Fire stuff and all that stuff. I like to call it the world of flavor, honestly. And we uh, we do have some hotter sauces sometimes, but most of our sauces are always focused on the flavor. But um, what brought me into the world was basically, and like what started the journey is like uh pre-COVID, like I was starting to get my tolerance spicier and spicier, and me and a buddy would always go out to a Thai food place, and we would always not necessarily challenge each other, but he kind of pushed me to get spicier and spicier dishes and stuff, and he would always get the spicy stuff, and I would always be like, why do you do that to yourself? And and then I started getting it, and I was like, oh wow, I'm starting to feel more alive. But I just started doing a bunch of fermentation when I was a culinary director for a uh, uh, community. It's like an old folks community, but like upscale, like the hoity-toity stuff. So I was getting into like fermentation then and stuff like that, and then COVID hit, and then I was like, you know what, I don't want to do this anymore. This isn't like just working my ass off and stuff, and I just quit, and I just focused on what I was doing and what I liked doing, and it was fermentation. And I kind of started off with the kombucha first, and then started kind of morphing into like doing fermented peppers and stuff like that. And when I started doing all that stuff, I was just like, wow, I actually I combined the two with the kombucha and the fermented peppers. I was like, hey, this actually works. Like it actually kind of balances it a little bit better than like, because there's a lot of hot sauces on the market that are very vinegar heavy,
Mm-hmm.
and I didn't want to add vinegar. Like I was in a bunch of Facebook groups and stuff like that with fermented hot sauce society and everything like that to try to you know learn from people and talk to people. And I noticed a lot of people, even though they fermented it, were still finishing it with vinegar, and I was like, I feel like the vinegar overwhelms the flavor profile of everything, and that's just for me personally. But basically, I was just like, let me try this kombucha, and then when I found that it works and it's not as acidic, it's like actually kind of balancing the acid levels a little bit better. It, I was just like, hey, that works. But I wanted to do something for like farmers market where I'm like, hey, I'll make like 5, 6, 7 grand a month trying to pay my bills, doing some farmers markets and stuff like that. And that's gonna be my thing. I'll work for myself and do it all. Who cares? And but Ryan was like, hey, I don't know, I don't think you know what you have, and I think we should think bigger with it. And I was like, okay. So we started getting into more farmers markets, and now we do 10 farmers markets a week plus so many events. If you saw our calendar, it's like every single weekend is events. It's insane. But thank God we have a staff in place and everything like that for that now. So
That is awesome to hear. And yes, you hit that right on the head. The flavor profiles that you're bringing forward with that kombucha, if for all those that are unfamiliar with kombucha, it is. it, it's something that you hear, and as you hear it as an outsider from ever trying it, you're just kind of like, sounds a little bit too much for me. Like a lot of people will just kind of pass it up, but it
Yeah.
is a beautiful harmony of flavors that happen in that brew, if you will, um, in that fermentation process of the kombucha. And your sauces, it really just sings beautifully through there, and to that point, because of not having that vinegar in there to really override it, you're standing out in such a different way, and it's beautiful. There's this very refreshing, and at the same time crisp nature still to a lot of the ingredients that are in there, which
Mhm.
normally you wouldn't think of whenever you're talking a fermentation like that.
Yeah, and really what the kombucha does, because I have a lot of people. They're like, "Hey, isn't kombucha basically vinegar anyway?" And it's like, yeah, in a way, because they're both acetic acids, and but they're both made differently. Like vinegar is made through use of alcohol and converting alcohol into the acetic acid and whatnot. But kombucha is just like a wild ferment. Like you just leave it and let it breathe and have the SCOBY in there, and it starts eating. It's basically converting the sugar rather than the alcohol into the acetic acid. And I always tell people, I'm like, if you have a glass of water and you squeeze a lemon into it, is that lemonade? No, it's not, because lemonade needs to taste a certain way. It's That's kind of the same thing with our kombucha. Is we don't brew it to a very low pH like vinegar is made into. Vinegar is usually around. Some vinegars are even like higher acidities are like two pH, but a lot of them are 2.5 area, 2.5, sometimes even 3 on the lower acidity ones. But yeah, so that the kombucha is really just about balancing the flavor profiles that happen from the lacto fermentation, and then getting, because you have lactic acid and then you have acetic acid, and it's just really about marrying the two and how they combine, rather than having the acetic acid over dominate, which usually vinegar does. It starts to over dominate on your palate. You kind of have a little balance of both of them.
Yeah, no, definitely, and it is extremely noticeable in your sauce that flavor balance is really working out beautifully for what you have going on, and you know, we'll definitely dive into that. I wanted to mention, so you mentioned the League of Fire side of things, and then really the kind of competitive aspect to it all. One thing that I found out. So I'm one that is not prone to boot, for lack of a better term. So on this last pepper competition that I took part in October, um, a lot of people chase it down with milk, and they basically drink enough milk to have themselves purge it out. Um, I so being lactose intolerant, I kind of was like, nah, that like I would rather just suffer than yeah, and try to get it out naturally than to try to drink a whole bunch of milk, because man, it just wrecks my stomach afterwards if I
Yeah.
do that. Um, but I do drink kombucha on a regular, off and on, just to kind of, I enjoy the flavor, different flavors, etc., all that stuff, right? Health benefits. But
Definitely.
one thing I thought of was like, oh, I'll just buy kombucha and afterwards I'll just slam it. So I did, and man, talk about some angriness in your stomach afterwards. And that was like, hey, if anyone's listening and you are like, milk is not a thing that you can do and you need to get that out, definitely some kombucha will help, because I downed that, did about 5 jumping jacks, and it like shook up my belly enough that it was like, all right, we're good. And
Yeah.
then afterwards,
So
I felt great. I felt rejuvenated, honestly, because the
the funny
kombucha
thing
kind of did
is,
its thing.
the acid can help neutralize it. That's actually a thing, and I'm not a scientist, so like if I speak any like wrong in this, but I've had actual experience with this of vinegar. Um, so it is an acid just like vinegar. One time, back in my early culinary days, I had to peel like 80 something pounds of like Anaheim peppers. Um, like they were roasted Anaheim peppers, and I did them without gloves. And my hands, Anaheim peppers really aren't that bad. I think they might have been like poblanos or something like that, one of those two. But they still have some spice to them.
Hmm.
And if you're doing it over and over and over with like 80 to 100 pounds, like a giant batch of this, you're going to get all those oils on your hands and stuff like that, and my hands were on fire. And the only thing I can think of at the time was vinegar, so I poured vinegar on it, and the pain immediately went away, right? And it lasted for a solid like couple minutes. Like I would just kind of soak my hand in vinegar, and it helped neutralize the capsaicin on my hand and the oils and stuff like that. Because in my brain, I was like, new vinegar can neutralize. It's used as a cleaning agent, stuff like that, So maybe let's try it. And I did it, and it worked. So I'm sure it works inside of you as well, like in like drinking kombucha, like to
Yep.
help neutralize that capsaicin as well.
Yeah, yeah. No, it was it came in clutch. Now I will say it was very fast acting, but I also slammed what was it? It was the bigger bottle, so I don't even I think it's bigger than a 16. So it's probably the 32 or 28 or whatever it
Yeah.
is.
Hmm.
So that was a lot of fluid coming in at once after eating 40 super hots. It was my
What
stomach
kind were
was
they?
it was a mixed variety, but everything was, I mean, it's easy to say. Nothing on that lineup was under a million. That's for certain. We started out with three chocolate primo tallies was round one, and by the end it was a speed round of 10 peppers that were all of equal stature. We'll put it that
Yeah.
way. So, yeah, it was a lot of fun. I'm definitely looking forward to this year's competition. I'll be back. It was a blast. But with that being said, though, your kombucha aspect to your sauce, is that something? I know you also make mustard as well, and you have some other products, but your inspiration and your motivation behind all like creating the different sauces and the ingredients that go in there. Now you also have, I guess, to tie into that, you have some very catchy names for all your products. So, uh, what is what's the horse and what's the cart? Is the name the horse and then the sauce ingredients is the cart? Do you think of the name first and you're like, all right, now we got to create a
Uh,
sauce off of that, or
well, yeah. So both and okay. Some sauces the name comes first. Some sauces the sauce comes first, and we're like, what do we call this? How do we stick in with the brand? Um, like Corn Hub, we came up with that sauce. Like we just launched it 6-ish months ago. That sauce, we came up with that name over 2 years ago. Like when we first started launching the business, like a year into it or whatever, we were discussing it one day, and one of our we had our very first employee, and we were talking about names for hot sauce and stuff, and that popped up, and then we are like, hey, that makes sense. And I was like, let's. And we tabled it for a long time too. Like it was just like I didn't think I was going to be able to ferment corn in a good way to make it to into a sauce. But as time went on, and as I had more time, and as my, I guess, fermentation skills developed, um, uh, I got more confident with it and started doing more test batches and stuff like that, and it actually worked. So beat your meat, that came first. The name came first. Ghosted, the sauce came first. Our mustard, the sauce came first. So there's a lot of them that came. It's kind of like, I want to say it's around half and half of name first, then sauce, and vice versa.
okay,
But honestly, it's just like, all right, how do we act like children for this sauce? How do we?
yeah.
Because I'm just a child. I just want to. I'm not trying to do all poop and fart jokes, but like it's. I want something that's gonna make people laugh.
Yep. No, and you definitely deliver on that. Every time I read one of your labels, it reminds me of, and I was going to also ask this as well. Are you a Bloodhound Gang fan? Because honestly, a lot of their songs have innuendos and double meanings and all the different things that kind of go on. And they're half of the time I'm like, I'm listening to one of the songs and I'm like, this could be a Down to Ferment sauce
Yeah.
name right here.
I used to listen to them way back when. Like these guys, Bloodhound Gang is old.
Yeah.
They're old school almost. So I used to listen to them a while ago, but I haven't like recently, or can't say that they're an inspiration. But it makes sense.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I mean, I'm not one. I tend to listen to. I guess I've kind of cut off. And this is maybe also dating myself in that sense because I haven't listened to mainstream music or anything of that sorts for the most part. I'll catch something here and there if it's on at a restaurant or bar or whatnot. But really, I personally stopped pursuing listening to stuff like that around what, probably 2011, 2012 is when so a lot of what I listen to when I do listen to music is the stuff from the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s. And that's like the bulk of that window that I kind of get stuck in. Um,
Yeah,
but I mean, music was
you're like
definitely
my dad.
different.
He always listens to the classic rock.
Yeah, yeah. It
There's something about music where like you're born into a certain range, and it's just like because it's such like it's present during your formative years as like a teenager and early adulthood and stuff like that. It's just what you gravitate to the most. So it doesn't even matter about new music coming out because yeah, maybe you'll listen to it here and there, but usually most people are drawn to what they grew up with, and like what instills the most memories, and like they go back to that and they're like, oh, I remember listening to this when I was in like college and stuff.
Yep. Yeah, no, that definitely rings true. I mean, there's so many of those the different songs that are from that time frame really that I just
Mm-hmm.
listed that ultimately I can recall back. My very first car was a '67 Mustang, and man, just to be able to beat on that very old school, push rod motor, you're just hearing the loud engine rumble and the music blaring. Yeah, I guess it kind of teleports me back to that. And
100%, dude. It's power. It's just kind of like music and food are very like hand in hand, where it's just like these types of things will literally just bring you back and create so much nostalgia. Like, and that's what I love about both. That's why I have a hard time with like food rating, like competitions and stuff like that because it's like food's different, just like music is different for everybody.
yep, absolutely, absolutely. And it's all like someone's palate may be able to pick up things that, say, another person wouldn't even be able to detect.
Hmm.
And it's not to say that that other person's, incompetent in that field. It's just, certain people are a little bit more either, whether that be a little bit more sensitive to the ingredients that are in there, or,
Yeah.
maybe they've just kind of tried a few different things and so on. I mean, there's same reason why there's not everyone in the world that's a wine connoisseur or beer connoisseur, or pick your poison, if you will. It's ultimately it's something that you initially inherently like, or you've grown to like.
Hmm.
So, all
Yeah,
right.
and that's the other thing about it too is just like everybody likes different things, and if like, I mean, we've won a few awards for our sauces, and I'm grateful for it. But at the same time, it's just like, what makes it better or worse than another sauce? Like
Yeah.
it's just all about what somebody eats it on, what somebody likes. If somebody doesn't like cilantro, then obviously, if that judge doesn't like cilantro, are they going to rate that number one?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, well, to tie into the cilantro thing without diving too far into it, I actually was reading something not too long ago, and then I started diving a little bit deeper because I'm like, I'm one that loves cilantro. But
Me too.
those
It's one of my
individuals
favorite
that are
herbs.
like, I can't stand it. It's whatever, repulsive, tastes like soap.
Yeah.
Apparently, it is something where their body has a metal in there that's causing it to, whenever they eat cilantro, have that taste. And apparently, the only fix to it, realistically, if you wanted to, is to continue to eat cilantro, and cilantro actually flushes that metal out of the
Oh, that's
body that
so weird.
causes it. Yeah, it's like a counterintuitive thing. So
I thought it was like a gene thing.
no, apparently it's not. Apparently it's a imbalance of some kind of mineral or metal that's in the body. Can't recall it off the top of my head exactly right now, but yeah, it was that. As I was diving into it, I was like, this is pretty interesting, pretty cool. So next time I meet somebody that's like, hey, I don't like cilantro, I'm like, all right,
Just
here
eat
we go.
more
We're
of
gonna
it.
go buy 2 bushels of this, and you're just gonna just chow down. To tie in briefly on the graphics, who really designs all that? Is that you? Do you have someone that you reach out to whenever it comes time to design a label for a product?
Oh yeah, we have our own artists. So we have a friend of a friend type of thing. Um, but he does awesome work, and basically how it's designed is because like when I come up with a new sauce, when me and Ryan sit down and we're like, all right, what are we going to call this? What is it going to be? So we have to think about every aspect of the sauce. We
Mm,
have to think about the label. We have to think about the flavor. We have to think about the name. We have to think about the heat level, how it's going to be received. Like, in order to make, you're bringing something to market. So you got to flesh everything out. And we want to keep on with our brand and our branding. And we want to make sure that it is, very like it doesn't all have to be about like sex and innuendos and stuff like that, but we just kind of want it to be funny. So
yep.
there's a few things um like habanero. So that was one of the original ones that doesn't have anything to do with sex or innuendo.
Mhm.
um it's basically habanero peppers and güero chilies, but I call it habanero because we live in San Diego. We have a very big, Spanish speaking community and everything like that, and we're very close to the border. So when I say that, when I say it to people that speak Spanish, especially, they go, "What do you mean? You mean like habanero?" And I'm like, "No, habanero. It's because a güero makes it. I make it.
Yep.
Look at me. I'm white." So it's something like that. To like, there's a little small joke inside of it that we want it, to be, and then we got to think of the graphics, especially. I kind of got off track there, but the graphics is where we sit down and we're like, okay, here's the name. And sometimes when we think of the name first, I already have the design of the label in my head, like the graphic. Like with Corn Hub, I was like, I know exactly what I want. I want a little piece of corn sitting at his computer with a little box of tissues right here. And you don't know. It's an insinuation. You don't know what he's looking at, but who knows?
Yep, yep. No, I like that. That's pretty cool too to think and picture. And uh, actually, as you're mentioning that too, that was one of the comments that I actually actively received the most. Was they're like, I think you're saying it wrong, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure it is in reference to the fact of being white, like it is made by a white
Yes,
man, and so
correct.
they're
Güero
like,
is a slang term for white boy.
yeah, and that's sort of like that. I think that you're saying it wrong because I think you're saying it in a derogatory way, and I'm like, well, I think that's kind of how it was intended,
That
but
is, yeah. And it's not. I wouldn't really call it. I mean, I'm white, so like I'm
yeah,
not
yeah,
native Spanish speaker, but from my experience, it's not really derogatory. It's slang. It's
yes,
it's more of a like you're calling a guy bro or something like that. I mean, I'm sure anything can be used in a derogatory way, but it's all about intention, right?
yes, yes,
So like the intention is just like I grew up in kitchens, right? I've been a chef and worked around a lot of Mexican chefs and cooks and stuff like that, and they, it's a term of endearment in a slang way.
yes. Well, you mentioned Corn Hub, and that's one sauce that y'all have dropped that has just absolutely blown my mind. I've actually had quite a few conversations with others just trying to figure out what how that even came out to be. Walk us through that. Is it very funky right off the bat? Is it creamy? What's going on with that sauce?
So that sauce is basically just we wanted to keep it as simple and elegant as possible without putting too many ingredients into it. Obviously, the majority of that sauce is corn, and we do roasted corn and non-roasted corn. The I mean, that sauce is kind of a pain because we have to shuck literally 7 cases of corn, and it sucks. It actually sucks. I have this contraption that I bought online that's called the Shuck Buddy, but it doesn't work the best, and it's like it is what it is. So that sauce is we wanted the focus to be on the corn, and then the habaneros to come in with the ají amarillos, because ají amarillos have a really nice kind of sweetness to them, and they have a really kind of floral flavor that really goes well with the habaneros too.
Yep.
And then we only ferment that one for 2 weeks, and the reason why is because if we fermented it any longer, all those natural sugars, because we use yellow sweet corn, all those natural sugars are going to get too sour, and they're going to eat all the lactose is going to eat up all that sugar, and it's going to not work out, and it's going to not taste like corn anymore, or you're going to get that hint of corn, and it's going to be too acidic and stuff like that. So we only ferment it for 2 weeks, and then it hits the right pH that we're looking for. And then we go into adding all the post-ferment ingredients. We use agave nectar to help sweeten it, which agave with corn and, it's a Mexican-style sauce, works really, really well. We use avocado oil to help give it a little creaminess, emulsification factor to it. And then we also do our own rub in there, which mimics tahini, because we use lime juice and cilantro. The lime juice with the tahini, or with our rub, tahini is basically like dried chilies with citric acid, so that's basically the same thing. And then you get that kind of tahini like quality to it on the end and stuff. So we want to, when you taste it, you're going to get corn right away. The heat's going to set in, and then the tahini kind of, and the citrus kind of stuff plays in the background. So
Okay. Yeah, no, we were, the two or three folks that I was bouncing this around with is we were kind of trying to figure out, is this going to be, so like obviously they make a lot of alcohols using corn. So we were like, is this going to be funky? Is this going to taste more like an alcohol? But no, it sounds phenomenal. It looks amazing. You definitely trying to grab before they're all gone, and all those that are watching, if you haven't checked that out, definitely go check out Corn Hub, as well as the many others that I've had the pleasure of reviewing on here. Absolutely amazing. Another thing that is commonly asked in the chat, so I'll go ahead and get ahead of the curve on this one, is, what is your preferred heat level that you like to be around? Is that, whether you want to tie it to a set sauce, whether it be your sauce or whatnot, or, a pepper in general that you're comfortable with as an everyday type of use?
So the older I get, the more my stomach can't handle super hots anymore, and I just get really bad cramps and stuff, and it just kind of ruins my day. And I like eating them in my face. I don't like eating them in my tummy. And it's just like, I don't mind the heat. I can stand it. It's just the later effects really hurt, and I'm like, all right, I'm done. I'm not gonna eat hot stuff anymore. So it's funny you brought up Corn Hub, because that's actually my favorite sauce in our lineup now. I just think it's like so versatile, and I think it goes on like pretty much any Mexican food you can think of. Even on pizza, even on baked potatoes, it's so good. The heat level around Corn Hub, just slightly less. Is generally, I'm like a medium spice guy. I do like the flavor of habaneros. I really like habanero flavor sauces and stuff like that. But I'm more on like the let's go medium to mild range now. Just because it's like I enjoy the flavors a lot, and there are some damn good hot sauce makers out there that really truly can encapsulate the flavors of what they're going for, and it's just so good. And I'm like, I want just a little bit of heat, enough to feel it, and then and then I'm chilling.
Yeah. Yeah, no, definitely. That makes sense. I mean, and for everyday use too, it makes sense to not always go full tilt, if you will, uh,
Yeah.
and just burn yourself down.
When I do go full tilt, I go full tilt the next day, and I'm like doubled over in pain, and I'm like, I'm not. Why did I do that?
Yeah, yeah. No, that makes perfect sense there. Okay. Now I guess as you're gearing up for the new year, 2025 is here. We are living it. Is there anything in the works that you have, that whether it just be in a test basis right now going on, or is the plan to roll out anything new for 2025?
Oh yeah, I'm already today. Even I was working on our anniversary sauce. Every end of February, early March, we release a anniversary sauce uh, for to celebrate our another year in the books. And I to be honest, I don't want to ruin that one.
Oh,
Our
yeah, no
anniversary
worries.
sauces take a lot of planning because they're very. This one is kind of a weird one. The last one we did was a harissa mustard, and that sauce came out so good. And I was, the I'll tell you a little secret that nobody else knows.
Okay.
The sauce, that anniversary one, on the first batch, I messed up on it, but that screw up, actually made it better. Like I didn't add enough guajillos to it, and I'm glad that I didn't because when I was looking at the recipe, I like totally screwed it up, and then I realized what I did. I was like, okay, I'll just leave it that way, and it works. It works way better.
There we go.
So, but as far as like any new things that we have coming up, um, I'm probably gonna do another. We're gonna do another line, another staple. We try to do like one staple, the black label that sits in our full time lineup, one a year, and then we have another one pump chump finally that's gonna come out. The one pump chump limited series was supposed to be like when we wanted to do small batch limited stuff, but it kind of morphed into just doing the hatch chili sauce. But we want to kind of bring out that one pump back into like the actual series, and we're releasing a very small batch of that. That one's going to be a sambal style sauce,
Okay.
like a chili garlic paste. So that one's going to be cool. That's going to be launching very shortly. And then I have two other sauces in the works that I don't know when I'm going to launch it or not. But one's going to be more taco-esque, and one's going to be more Korean-esque. So
All right. All right. Well,
that's what we're playing with.
I like it, and you definitely have the Asian flavors and the Mexican flavors down pat, like absolutely dialed in, and have that. So I'm certain that anything that you crank out in that field is going to be an absolute home run. It sounds like you channeled your inner Bob Ross there by making happy, and there's no accident. It's just happy accidents, right? So,
Yeah, 100%. And I was like, oh, it works. So let's do it. Let's roll with it.
yep. No, that's that. I mean, it's great when all that works and everything just pans out the way it should. So, all right, all right. Well, let's do this. Let's go ahead and jump on over to the game. All right. Well, here we have Keep 5, Cut 5, a very special edition just for you. This is 10 different ingredients. I'll list them off here. And what we'll do is the way this works is there's 10 items on the board, 5 of which you're going to keep, 5 of which you're going to cut. The best way to go about this is alternating order. So you can either keep or cut first, but if you just keep that alternating pattern, the game tends to work out pretty evenly as we go. So I will list them off here. We have habaneros, ginger, fruit is what that one picture right here is to embody. And then we have jalapenos, mushrooms, kimchi, honey, tamarind, ghost peppers, and black garlic. So idea for this, for what I was thinking was, you're all about the ferments, and why not pick whether this be a sauce that you want to call back that you all have currently, or an idea of what you think would be a pretty fun combination of ingredients.
Okay, I like this. It's gonna be challenging. I'm not gonna lie, because like my brain can go in a bunch of different ways with it.
Yep. So what would you like to keep or cut first?
Let's keep habaneros.
All right.
Let's cut fruit.
Cutting fruit. All right.
Is that jalapenos below habaneros?
Yes, that
Let's
is.
cut those.
All right.
100% keep the shiitake mushrooms. Mushrooms are like nectar.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna keep the tamarind. 100% keep the tamarind because that's such a cool ingredient. And interesting thing enough, I almost included tamarind into corn hub,
Oh,
just
that would
because
have been
it's so
nice.
prevalent in our area. I just didn't want to it just didn't make the cut because I didn't want to overwhelm the corn flavors, and I wanted
Mm,
to keep it as uh, like close to the original as possible, like what street corn is, you know.
yep.
So, but I was playing with it multiple times. So, let's cut ghost peppers.
All right.
I'm gonna keep the black garlic
All right.
just because I love making it. And this is tough. I think I'm gonna keep honey and get rid of ginger and kimchi.
All right. Ginger and kimchi are out. You know, ginger does do pretty good in at least kombuchas as far as flavor carries forward, but it makes
100%.
sense. I kind of knew that honey was going to be making the cut regardless. There's a few on here that I had a pretty strong feeling that they were going to make the cut, which then meant it only got harder for the selection process.
Yeah,
So,
I mean, I love ginger's in a bunch of my sauces and stuff, and I love putting ginger in the sauce because it just adds like a such a depth of flavor to the sauces. But I think the reason why I kept honey was because of the tamarind, because I kept tamarind. So I'm like kind of in a way building a sauce in my head with this stuff, if that makes sense. Because I'm
yeah.
like honey and tamarind would play so well with the habaneros, and then add a little mushroom backing or something like that, you know. So that I don't know, it's just hard because it's like I want to keep it all.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I got some pretty interesting ideas that have been rattling around my head in the realm of fermented, like an idea for a fermented hot sauce that I was like, it's always just been super interesting. That while I guess there's maybe one or possibly two companies out there doing it, I'm like, why is this not more commonly in the market as a whole? So no, it's always interesting to, definitely in this scenario here, see kind of what ingredients really called out to you in this game scenario. So
Well, now I kind of want to know what you're thinking.
yeah. Well, maybe we can we'll talk about that one. We'll talk about that one here in a second. But
Offline.
yeah.
Can't have anybody stealing ideas.
Well, it's not really just that. It's maybe it's just so far left field. Because like I said, there's one or two that are doing something similar, but not quite that, right? So maybe some of those things is kind of just from the perspective of a consumer standpoint, and not so much of a production mindset. So maybe that's just why it hasn't really made itself aware. But
That makes a lot of sense though, because like when you're running a business and you're like coming up with these recipes and stuff, you got to really think about, you know. It's funny because Zach from High Desert, he's always like, well, I make what I like and what I want to do and stuff like that, and it just so happens a lot of people like that stuff too. But sometimes you got to think of like what is this cut? What is my demographic gonna like? What is my customer base gonna like? Because if I'm making something that somebody doesn't like, my most of my customer base doesn't like, then kind of not in business, like I need to figure out either A, go to another customer base, or B, figure out another product that my customer base is going to want.
Yep.
I'm in San Diego with a lot of farmers markets and stuff like that, so kombucha's huge, fermentation's huge. Like, everybody loves healthy eating and stuff, so that's why we don't add any sugars or anything like that to our products and everything, and try to keep the label as clean as possible. So, like, it's all about thinking about what is my customer base going to eat and how are they going to receive this. I'm sure
Yeah.
they don't sell a ton of kombucha in like rural America, in like I don't know, Arkansas. I don't know, just
Uh,
rural, like, because a lot of people aren't used to it.
yeah. Yeah. No, I mean, it makes sense. You really got to cater towards, where your product is at, and, those that are just going to be passing by it. I mean, if you're completely missing the mark, obviously you're just shelf space, right? At that point. So, okay. Well, hopefully the Keep Five Cut Five was a fun way to kind of break up the interview there. But now we have the nugget of knowledge. This is something that you would, whether you're telling your past self or someone that's just entering the space as a whole, to avoid a pitfall while making a product.
While making a product.
Yeah. So whether that's starting a company or making a product, just a nugget of knowledge around that.
So if okay, there you go. Is if you want to bring a product to market, you need to flesh it out first. You need to, like, literally make sure that you know where everything is coming from. You can get your bottles. If you're wanting to put an ingredient in a sauce, I see this a lot with other, like, hobbyists or makers or something like that. Like, oh, this sauce is so expensive for me to make. I was like, well, did you source it before you put it in there and scaled it? Like, you got to figure out if you can actually keep it year round. Like, that's why a lot of our sauces are designed the way they are, is because I can source these ingredients year round and keep them going year round. Otherwise, it's going to cost me an arm and a leg to produce it. So yeah, just make sure you know where you're sourcing everything first.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure you can source them first. If you want to put a weird pepper in a sauce, make sure you can get enough of it. You know, make sure if you want to, do it dried or do it fresh or whatever, and you have a specific way of doing it, you got to make sure that everything is thought out before you bring this sauce to market, because you're going to cost yourself a ton of money later on down the road. And double
Absolutely.
check everything, like labels and stuff like that, before they get printed. Like, make sure everything is on the mark.
Very well said. Very well said. Well, now here's a chance to put someone on the hot seat. This is someone that you think would make a great guest for the show.
I'm gonna do another San Diego company. They're North San Diego, more Oceanside based, but Seven Siblings Hot Sauce.
All right. Thank you for that nomination. I'll be reaching out and finding a time to have Seven Siblings on the show. And
Yeah.
now, do you have anything else that you would like to share with those that are watching and listening?
Stay tuned. I guess we have a lot of stuff planned for this year. We had an amazing year last year, and we just, for anybody that doesn't know, moved into our own commercial kitchen space. Literally built a shell from the ground up into a commercial kitchen, and that was stressful but a lot of fun. And it's all situated now, and now the whole world for us opens up, as to what we can do. So we're bringing out new sizes of spice rubs, getting bigger sizes there, new sauces, and just focusing on what makes us, the fermentation and the flavor profiles and everything like that. So it's a lot less work that we have to do now that we have our own space, and no, loading cars up and driving things to and from anymore. That's so nice. But yeah, everything's in one spot, and so, like, our time and energy is more focused on everything else.
Very nice. Okay. Well, hey, Sean, thank you so much for coming on. It's been an honor having you on here. Clearly, we only got to scratch the surface. So would love to have you back on, dive deeper into fermenting and everything in between. So definitely thank you so much for being here.
Definitely. I can talk for hours about it. So just let me know when.
Sounds good. Hey, Sean, thank you so much for coming on. It was an honor to have you on here, learning more about Down to Ferment, everything to do with fermenting, and all the fun that we've had. Hey, if you're wanting to keep up with Down to Ferment, I'll have the links down below on how you can keep up with them on socials, direct links to the website so you can see the full catalog of everything that they have to offer. And definitely could not do this without y'all. Thank y'all so much for being a part of this community here. So thank you so much, Swear Nation. Don't forget, new episodes drop every Tuesday and Thursday. Shout out to podvision.io, our sponsor here. You know, if you are looking to grow your brand, start your brand, you hit a bump in the road and you're trying to figure things out, highly recommend checking out podvision.io. Also, we have a new sponsor as well, webdx.one. And highly recommend checking them out for all website builds, needs, CRMs, automated systems, webdx.one. Episode 70 is in the books. I'm Brandon Swear, and from everything from the world of hot, this has been The Swear Word.